Got it.
Right. Design a philosophy around the importance of routines in early childhood classroom. What would your philosophy reflect?
I can go first. Unless Tessa, you want to go? Were you?
Nope, go ahead.
Okay.
Mhm.
I think their routines, they make things predictable for children. They have that sense of stability, security. They are less overwhelmed and more available. So routines are really important in our early childhood classroom. And that's my philosophy. We keep the same routine. And if it's something different, we put a special activity, that star. And when you talk about what's the special activity today, to give them what's expected in the day, they're less overwhelmed, not worried, and just go with the flow.
I agree with Pooja. Early childhood really thrives on routine, and it helps them be calm. It helps with behavioral issues in the classroom. If you take something out of their routine, like everything is just shifted for them. So I agree, routines are very, very important. And like Pooja said, if there is a special event or something that you are doing, absolutely talk about it, give them a heads up, because kids like knowing what's coming. If not, it just causes chaos and confusion and just a not well-managed classroom. So routines are important.
Yeah, I agree with both of you guys. I feel like I always say this, but like I'm in a structured class, so like you have to be routine. I mean, otherwise like it's really crazy. But even like when I was in like an early childhood class, like definitely routine. And then I would say to know like the expectations, because I feel like when like the students don't really know what's going on or they're not aware, like that's just, you know, when everything is like nuts and gets crazy. And then I would also say too, just like to build off, like the kids know the expectation, like know what areas are open, what they can do, and like just really what's like expected of them. And then I always like the Montessori philosophy, like hands-on. So like I really like just having activities that are hands-on and enough areas that it's not overcrowded, but then at the same time, like students won't get bored with it.
Yes, I agree with everybody about the routines. And I also noticed from in my classroom that when we have with the routines established, especially when I have friends who come in like just when breakfast is starting, you know, the routines help, because they have, you know, sometimes they come in like, oh, they want to go play with toys. So then I'm like, well, no. Are you going to eat breakfast? Because, you know, once you go to play, breakfast is going to be over. So, you know, it kind of helps them remember, like, oh, yeah, if I don't eat breakfast, I was like, remember, lunch is a long time away. We're like, remember, we have to do circles. I have to clean up. We have to do circle time. We have to go outside. We have to have playtime. Then we have lunch. And they're like, oh, yeah, let me go and eat. So it kind of helps them remember also like the process of the day. Because sometimes, like I said, I have friends who come in and be like, no, I don't want to eat. I was like, are you sure? It's like 8:50. Lunch is not until 11:30. Let me tell you what 11:30 is, what it's going to look like until 11:30. And then they're like, oh, yeah, let me go and eat.
So for me, I think that routines are essential. Especially the younger the child, even me, if my routine is thrown off for the day, I get all discombobulated. So for me, I think it's probably the biggest thing that's helped me with any challenging behaviors within the kids is the predictability of their day. I can flex time it a little bit. Oh, they want to stay in the gross motor room or outside a little bit longer, no problem. But at the end of the day, they know first we're doing this and then we do this. That way they're not confused and wondering what's happening, and it makes it a lot less chaotic. And once they get the routine down, truly, I think that it helps build better relationships with us, because then they can trust in us that we know what's going to happen. Every time my kids leave the room, they know to grab the handle of one of our ropes, and that we're going to sing this song. When we go to the gross motor room, we sing one song. When we go out to the garden, we sing another. When we're going out on a walk, we sing another. But every day we sing these songs, and they know what to do because of that structure and routine.
Yeah, too.
Yeah, Crystal, it's funny you said that because when I used to teach abroad, songs used to be a big factor, and that's how you really were able to are able to teach English to non-English users, as you use a lot of songs and different things. And when my class used to go to the bathroom, and I still remember it, we used to do this like chant, and I used to go R2 attention, and then they'd stomp their feet and they'd go 1, 2, and then we do this whole routine of like, it's like hands up. It would be me saying, and then they would be responding, be like hands up, 1, 2, 3, hands down, 4, 5, 6, hands right, ABC, hands left, DEF, and then I'd ask, where are we going? And then they're all singing a song. We are going to the bathroom. This whole thing, and that was my biggest thing and my favorite thing because it made the transition go so smoothly from going to the bathroom. Because when I taught them, they were so young that we had to go to the bathroom every 30 minutes because a lot of them were still potty training. And that was the best for the transition. And now routines obviously are shifted. I don't do that because I could not imagine getting my pre-kindergartners to even do a chant with me because they're too cool for school. And now the routines are helping a lot of the kids that have more anxiety and need the routines in the classroom by them going, well, we have this, this, and this, and then it's time to go home. Yeah, we're going to do this, this, and this, and then it's time to go home. And the next hour comes after we check one of those things off our list, and they'll go, okay, we have snack, and then we have free play, and then it's time to go home. So it's nice for them, and it helps them self-monitor how they feel and how much anxiety they get from being away from home. And I've seen it a lot with the kids that I've in classes I've subbed for. They really rely on those schedules to know when they're able to go home, if they should be upset about how long that they have left. So routines are super helpful. It is kind of annoying though when the kid comes up to you a bunch of times. Okay, we have this, this, and this, and then it's time to go home. And then it's time to go home. And you're like, yeah, glad you know the schedule. Thanks, dude. But yeah.
So I agree with all of you. Because we have a visual schedule up for our kids so they can see it. And then we have our job board is right next to it. So we actually have one of our kids pick every Monday, the kids pick a new job. So we have somebody who is in charge of moving the arrow to the next spot on the schedule. And we always check in. Okay, we just did this. What's next? What did we do before this? What are we doing now? What comes next? We just had to make some individual little schedules for a couple of my kids who are struggling, so they could carry it with them. And I had to tweak it a little bit to make it a little different for them because they do leave for another school for services. And we were struggling within that routine because they were seeing that my other kids had a specific routine and schedule that they were following. And with their spring break that just happened, they didn't have school. So they were there with us and they got used to our routine. And then we had to try to throw them back into their regular routine. And it just was not working. And it was a struggle to get their harnesses on, get them ready for the bus. So I just made a mock schedule of what it was and then just added in the picture cards for them. At this time, I'm going to get my harness on and then I can come join group again. Then at this time, I'm going to get my coat on and I'm going to go to the door and wait for the bus. All that's very important. And you are totally right. Not only does it affect the children when there's not a schedule or a routine being followed, but it also definitely affects the teacher because it affects me. And I kind of think that's kind of where I have been the last couple of weeks and where I'm getting the burnout feeling. I don't necessarily know that it's a burnout, more of a everything is off schedule and my anxiety can't handle it. So I just think that's really important. And I love that you guys brought up songs or chants to do, because actually both of my classrooms are struggling right now with transitions, are the hardest thing for us to do. So I'm going to look into some of those things and see if that might help with my kids transitioning, because we are the struggle bus. So thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
The next one, as an educator of young children, what can you do to create a positive climate for learning? And then how can you build positive relationships with your students? List 3 ways to engage and motivate all students to learn. Lastly, how can you customize and individualize learning for each student? So back to the top, I think the first thing you can do to create a positive climate for learning is to ensure that your classroom is offering diverse learning in all areas. Make sure that it is warm, welcoming, inviting, not overpowered with lots of color. Let the color in the classroom be created from the kids' work. How could you build positive relationships? That's just taking the time and getting to know your kids, getting to know their personalities, getting to know the things that they like, the things that they don't like, the things that they exceed in, things that they need work with, getting on their level in times where maybe they're sad or need comfort. Make sure that you're that person. Another way to do that is connect with their family as well. 3 ways to engage and motivate all students to learn. I always say be fun, interactive, and sometimes be spontaneous. My kids love when I pull out the puppets and I'm funny, change my voice. They love when we sing songs. And to customize and individualize learning for each student. This is something that I have to do every week. I have to pick 5 children. I just kind of look at something specific that they're struggling with. For example, it might be regulating their own emotions when it comes to sharing items in the classroom. So that is something that I can do all the time during that week with those students. Anytime that there is a power struggle, I can help them problem solve and then regulate their emotions and feelings. So those can be added in pretty easily.
I can go next. I'll have to pull up the questions in front of me. So to create a positive climate for learning, it should be welcoming, as you said, Tessa. It should be warm. It should include the child as a whole, like his culture, his background, all positive things in the classroom. How can you build strong positive relationship with your students? I would say by encouraging those peer interactions, by fostering those peer interactions, that would make a classroom very strong, and the relationships in the classroom overall would be so great if they have peers that they trust, the adults and the peers. And let me see if I was making notes for myself. And problem solving with the kids together, like if they have a problem, they know you're there to support them, to help them. They trust you, they know they are in good hands, all those things to help them feel safe and positive in the classroom. Lastly, how can you motivate, customize, and individualize? So by knowing your children, by knowing your students, that how this student learns, and maybe this student can use more visuals, or this student can use more sensory breaks. So knowing your child, you can work on customizing or individualizing learning for them. Thank you.
Okay, I can hop on that one. So in addition to what you ladies are saying about making sure it's welcoming and everything, I think representation in materials is important to make your child feel calm, welcomed. They need to see that the materials in the room reflect who they are as a person, not just like a standardized like material, right? So for us, what we do to help kids is we have the routines. we ask open-ended questions, we have patience, and we work hand in hand with the families. So we partner with the families because to me, if there's bad communication with the families and they're talking bad about you or about the program or anything like that, or the classroom at home and the kids hearing it, that puts a salty taste in a child's mouth, right? Like some parents don't hold conversations when children aren't present. They don't have that opportunity. So I was just saying like that really helps them build trust with me. We also divide and conquer. So we do primary care. So we split it up based on the children's personalities and who they would do best with. My program aide is really, really reserved and very quiet and to herself. I'm obviously a little more outgoing, if you will. So the children that need that more calm, level-headed, like soothing, they go to her. If they can dust it off and we're going to keep trucking along, they come to me. It's just different approaches, right? But we listen to them and we validate how they're feeling. We validate things, and by validating who they are, no matter how small they are, it makes them feel like their voice is being heard. And I believe their confidence builds from being heard. That's what I got.
I'll go. For building, the first question was about the environment. I would say, I just go along with what everyone else said, but also to try to find out some things from their families as well. You know, like what do they like? What are their likes and what are their dislikes? I know in my old job, that was one of the things we would do pre-COVID when we got to meet the parents on the first day. You know, we would ask some questions like, you know, what do they like? What is their, you know, do they have a favorite activity that they like to have? Or when they're upset, what do you do? And I think with COVID, that just threw everything off because we didn't get to talk to the parents face to face. I think that to build relationships with the children, like you said, you need to build relationships, you know, with the parents, but also being respectful of the children and modeling how to interact with each other in the classroom. Because so many times you see teachers, they talk very mean to the kids, and then they expect the kids to be nice to each other. It's like, no, because they just saw you like jump all over their friend for some unknown reason. And they also have to, like you said, they need to know that they can come to you if something is going on, if somebody's bothering them, if they're not feeling well, if they're sad. They need to be able to know that they can rely on you to be there for them because their parents aren't there. So they need to know that you're the adult that they can trust with, you know, with whatever's going on. For the individualization, I would say, like you all said, just getting to know the students, knowing what they need, you know, what their strengths are and what they might need a little bit of help with. And just even though they might be struggling with it, be very encouraging to them as well. That's it.
I'm gonna.
Sorry. No, that's okay. Do you want to go or do you want me to go?
Are you sure? You want to go first?
I don't care. We do. Okay. Or do you want to go? Sorry.
I'll
Okay, go ahead. Yeah, sorry.
So I'm gonna piggyback on all of that because that's all like equally important. And I feel like there's really not much more I can say, but like one thing that I do remember Tate saying a while ago is you want to make sure that you at least speak to each child at least once, like in a day, like to make, you know, like the individualization part, you want to compliment them on like their shoes or, you know, say something about them that's individualized, like specifically for them. I feel like that's very important in creating relationships with your students on top of, you know, everything else you guys said, like, you know, building those family connections, learning more about your student through their parents or their guardians. What else? Just, you know, creating those positive relationships because they really are with us more than they are with their families. So we are their family away from family, I guess. So yeah, that's what I got.
I agree with all you guys. I feel like definitely having like a safe environment and just like supporting, because you know they are away from their families for so long, so we are kind of like their families, like, or we are their families like when they're away from them. So just having like a safe environment, and just somewhere where like we're to, like, the kids feel comfortable like to be themselves, and like they can come to if they're having an issue. And then I would say just building strong relationship is like getting to know your students, kind of like what Desiree and like Tate said, like, you know, actually like talking to your students like once a day, or talking to them about something like that, you know, they find interesting, or just kind of like getting to know them, whether it's like their family or their interest or just something like about them. So you actually have a relationship with the student. And you know more about them than just like a day-to-day thing. And then ways to engage and motivate your students to learn, I would say, is definitely by like making it fun. I feel like getting to know them, and then just kind of always having like that routine. And I always say like doing like hands-on, because I feel like everyone learns best by doing. And then yeah, just to customize and individualize a lesson for students is probably just like kind of accommodate. So if like students need more help, maybe have like a teacher help, or have a lot of visuals for students maybe who are struggling. So just accommodations and modifications for students who need them.
I don't really think there's much more I need to say. Everyone said everything that I agree with. I do think like building positive relationships really go into how children are engaged and motivated in the classroom. You're not going to have a child who you don't have a positive relationship with. It's going to be hard for them to be engaged in the lesson. At least I know. Obviously, we all teach younger kids, but I know in middle school and high school, when I didn't like one of my teachers, and I knew that they like didn't take the time to like get to know me, I wasn't as invested in what they were teaching me. I wasn't as interested. So that really goes hand in hand with each other. It's not something that like you can just skip out on because you don't have the time. And like exactly what Desiree mentioned, I strive to do that every single day. I try to call out their names too. So like even me just seeing them in the hallway and saying hi, like, hi Charlotte, hi Harper, like even doing that is just something so small that the kids like will obviously pick up on. But other than that, I really agree with everything else that everyone said, and I don't really think there's much else. Sometimes I motivate students to learn by bribing them. But other than that, good job.